Hey guys, welcome again to my channel. This is Isaac with IKO Auto. We're going to dive right on in, as always. Today, we're going to be talking about different types of titles. In the wonderful world of cars, there are all sorts of vehicle conditions. Well, buckle up, because today I'm going to be taking you through talking about different types of vehicle titles, what they mean, what their risks are, and some common misconceptions about them. So, for starters, we're going to go ahead and get with the gold standard clean titles. Everyone is pretty familiar with these. You buy it new, it's nice, it's shiny, it's clean, but what does it really mean? Well, it's pretty simple. It just means that since the car was first originally delivered, and I would like to specify not since purchased, but since delivered by the manufacturer, it has not had any accidents resulting in repairs that exceed X amount of the vehicle's value. Now, Isaac, that's weird. Why didn't you just give me a number or a percentage there? And well, that's because it can vary state by state, and depending on the age of the car, and depending on the insurer. But in essence, a clean title vehicle is one that has been noted as never having received measurable damage. However, that does not mean by any measure that your clean title car is perfect by any means. Always, always, always run a history check and do your due diligence. If the deal seems too good to be true, it probably is. Just because it's clean title does not mean it's been maintained. It doesn't mean that there isn't significant damage done to it and then repaired, and that just it wasn't reported to the insurance. Especially with how expensive insurance premiums are nowadays, frankly, you're starting to see that a little bit more and more. Is people that will have, frankly, significant damage done to the vehicle, and then they just won't report it to the insurance and they'll just pay out of pocket because they don't want their rate to go up. See how frequently it was taken into service. And if there's not a lot of records, well, maybe they're a mechanically inclined individual like ourselves. Do they seem mechanically inclined? Ask them questions on the servicing of their own vehicle. Inconsistencies in their story will be pretty easy to spot out if they're trying to be deceptive. And of course, alternatively, some of the best maintained cars I have ever owned came from older folks who simply refused to pay a shop to do it and serviced it themselves. And they've had the car 12 years and they hand you a manila folder with every receipt for everything that's ever been purchased for that car. So a lot of it, again, even with a clean title, usually you are safe, but that doesn't mean take it at face value. Still do your due diligence. So we'll go ahead and we will slip on over to the other end of the spectrum because, of course, the opposite of our clean titles are our salvage titles.
Whoop-de-doo! What does it all mean, Basil?
So a salvage title is a vehicle denoted to have received X amount of damage within its lifetime, meaning it cost more to repair than the value of the vehicle. Salvage title cars come with a ton of restrictions. To my knowledge, please feel free to fact check. I do not believe there is a single state in which a salvage title vehicle can be driven on public roads or even insured. Now, if you're looking for a project car, salvage title is exactly the way to go. They are going to be the absolute bottom dollar pricing wise, and because clearly they've been totaled out for one reason or another, they probably had a good amount of damage done. So unless you really know what you're getting into, for the everyday consumer, I really wouldn't suggest getting into a salvage title build. But if you're looking for something to beat up and have some fun with and something to learn on, especially the days of the $500 car is dead unless it's salvage title. So we'll go ahead and we'll move on to our next bit as well, which is lastly, I really want to talk about the title type that feels incredibly misunderstood, and that's the rebuilt title. Now, rebuilds are super cool because they absolutely offer some of the best value for your dollar you will get on a vehicle, and a lot of people aren't aware of the process. So rebuilt titles get a pretty bad rep where they usually shouldn't, and that's a little bit of my personal anecdote there. Yeah, so what is a rebuilt car? How does it get that title? So a rebuilt car was once a salvage title car that then went through repair, verification, and state inspection to be deemed roadworthy again. So due to this process, and it being marked as salvage title previously, it can never be a clean title vehicle ever again. But the rebuild notes that all correct legal processes were followed to restore the vehicle to comparable former glory. So these are cars where you'll find your absolute best deals, and somewhat unlike clean titles, it's been through the ringer. It's rebuilt. It was previously marked a complete loss for a reason. You're aware of that as you buy it. You know that this thing isn't perfect. So you're not really that caught off guard, especially when you run the history and you see that it has a few blemishes. So I kind of like them for that. But so a lot of people are scared because, of course, how do I trust that? And that's fair. So let's talk about the process itself. How does one go from salvage to rebuild? So here in Virginia, it's a rather straightforward progress. First, you obtain your salvage title car. You then keep record of all parts purchased to restore it. Then, usually, a certified shop performs the repairs. Now, I did learn in all of this process that that's not necessary, but it does make your approval process much easier and much quicker. You then fill out not just the title form, but actually 2 additional forms showing where you repaired the vehicle and what parts were replaced, and an additional fee for a secondary inspection. All of that information is then mailed to the DMV, and about
One eternity later.
a state trooper will be ready to come and inspect. Now, by this time, you should have already gotten a trip permit. The vehicle will have already been fixed, and you'll have been able to go and get a state inspection, and it will have passed. The trooper will then verify various bits of information, such as you didn't use stolen parts, there is no VIN swapping, it is the car that was in the paperwork, and that your state inspection was real. And from this point, it's just a matter of waiting for the new rebuilt title to arrive in the mail, which is then when you can go and register your plates and drive it on the road and insure it like you would any other vehicle. So I say all of that because I want to break down some numbers as well. And this will be definitely the first video that I've talked about some of my numbers. So I really hope this is educational in that thing, and it also gives you a little bit of peace of mind, anyone that's watching as well, for if they're looking at a rebuilt title vehicle. Isaac goes on a rant, woo. As we end this video, I do want to highlight some stuff that I said earlier because, Isaac, what in the heck does this X amount mean that you keep referencing? Well, I'm glad it stayed in your mind.
Wait a minute!
This is the part of the video where we talk about some sad natures within the car industry and insurance industry. Frankly, you see, most insurance companies don't actually really want to pay out for you to repair the car. It's much easier, much more financial for them to just rather roll you into a new vehicle and keep you at that monthly premium or yearly premium, depending on how you pay it, and then recoup what they can for fun at auction on your vehicle. Due to that financial mentality, the X amount I mentioned ranges wildly, again, as I stated, from insurer to insurer and state to state. So in my experiences, for example, personal story here, one of the first vehicles that we started to work on was a Mazda 6. To start all of this wonderful project with my supportive friends and now, leading stuff into YouTube, and getting my dealer's license, I started off with Copart. Now, I created a Copart account because I wanted to bid on cars that were from auction. Well, I learned the hard way, Virginia doesn't let, without a license, do that. But I did learn that North Carolina would let me bid on salvage title vehicles as a public individual. So I found some locations nearby, did some research, and found a car I wanted to bid on that I thought I could make a fair profit on. So I did. So I bought a 2014 Mazda 6 Grand Touring, had 134,000 miles on it, a single previous owner. And this is a Grand Touring model, so it had all the bells and whistles for a 2014 car. I bought that car at auction after taxes and fees for a total of $2,915. I then threw another $1,480 at it for the following: a salvage exam, battery, rotors and brakes, complete AC drain and refill, oil and oil filter, as well as transmission fluid cycle. Replaced multiple fuses, replaced the TPMS, gave it brand new tires all around, and gave it a new rear bumper. We as well painted and blended that new bumper, as well as did some touch up on a quarter panel. So all in all, if anyone's good at math, that leads me up to being into the car for $4,395. Not bad at all for a single owner car with 136,000 miles. Now, I sold that car at a fair $6,500. which means I netted a profit of $2,105. The buyer got a great car, which is exactly what they wanted, and they got it for under 75% of its clean title value, and I got to pay my mortgage. Now, what was wild with this car is, again, it was incredibly educational because it's a single owner vehicle, and as you'll notice again, another.
Wait a minute.
I only replaced the bumper. Yeah, Allstate totaled this woman's car because she backed into a yard post and it shattered the back bumper. Folks, that back bumper cost me $120. I'm going to say that one more time. That bumper cost me $120. It then cost me maybe $300 to paint it and blend it. You see, and again, I need you to understand they totaled this car out because they said that a bumper and painting was going to cost at least $3,000. I did it for $500. Even after labor taking it to another shop. Insurance does not want to actually fix your vehicle. So I was not really surprised that when I looked into the history of this car and learned that they'd taken it to a big box dealership, and of course that big box dealership body guy, their auto techs, looked at that and just threw their hands up and said, "Oh goodness, it's going to cost thousands of dollars to replace this bumper, and since it's only valued at $10,000, the whole car, well, that's just it's just trash now." So yeah, if you have Allstate and you live in North Carolina and you get a repair bill that's going to cost 25 of its value, they'll total it out. So that's one of the reasons, again, to reiterate why I think rebuilt titles get a really bad rep. Because, yeah, 25% of the value and the willingness of these big box dealerships to just throw absurd numbers at you. And now you know why I think rebuilt titles get a much worse reputation than they deserve. But I thank you for stopping by. I hope all of this was really informative. As always, I love you all. And this is Isaac from IKO Auto, your friendly neighborhood car uncle. Free feel to smack that like button and subscribe because there will definitely be more content coming.